Hey there, this is Lee Gerstmann, and I'm going to be just doing a casual improvisational talk about a subject that I might later do a more polished podcast version of it on the Lee Gerstmann Show on Spreaker. I can put a link in the description to this video on my podcast, so if you want to hear it, you can check it out. But I'm just going to talk from what I can think at the moment of why people do YouTube videos and podcasts and what it all means and what it means to try and promote yourself nowadays. I'll first start with giving a general statement like they have different things on buildings like no soliciting, which means that if you come and you want to promote something, you really can't do it because this might be a business, and why would you want to promote someone else's business in our business? And in a general way, I would say a lot of people view other people in that way. It's kind of like if you want to talk to someone and just have a communication, that's fine. But if you want to mention something about something that you do, like your business or whatnot, they might think that you're trying to sell them something. And sometimes people try to sell things to other people, but other times it's just someone might just see someone and they might think, oh, that's a pretty cool person. I just want to mention what I do in case that person might be interested in it. There's very little in terms of an agenda. The only agenda is, hey, I might as well promote what I do because it's what I do. And that's the thing. It is sometimes considered spamming if you're on Facebook and what you do is you give links to your podcast or whatever it is that you're doing and you promote it in different groups. Some people are appreciative of it and they will promote what they do in your group, and others are like, what does this have to do with the subject of what we're about? They want it to be exclusive, and I can understand that, but with me, the only times that I ever might get annoyed if someone is promoting what they do in my group is if, for instance, they don't ever comment on something on mine. All they do is they talk about theirs and they never give any kind of feedback to me on what I'm doing. Then I might feel like, well, it should be a fair trade. I can look at what you do and comment, and then you can look at mine and comment. But that doesn't happen often. And when it does happen, I'm kind of the one to overlook it because I know that I'm sometimes going into other people's groups and I'm promoting what I do. But I also like to talk with people. If someone asks me a question, I'll answer it. If someone tags me in a post, I like to respond. And I'm like that with Twitter. And I'll also tweet various people, some of them celebrities, some might not be celebrities, but they're people who might be interested in the kinds of things that I'm promoting, and I figure that if I tweet them, I'll get a response. But that's really what it is. In this day and age, there's really not the same kind of model for promoting your work and getting a dollar from it. It's now mostly people can get things for free, and I do that too. So I'm not going to judge whether or not the model is good or bad. But what I am going to say is it means to me that if I am not going to get money for it, then some kind of compensation should be in the form of a comment. If you like what I'm doing, let me know. If you download the video or like it or subscribe to what I'm doing, then that at least gives YouTube or Spreaker or Facebook an indication of popularity. if you just look at it and you don't give any kind of indication of what you think about it, then it would be like if I went to your house and I gave you a lot of money because I appreciated you as a person and I just wanted to give you money, and what you did was you just took it and you didn't say anything and you just shut the door on me. It's like, whether or not you do that because you're overwhelmed and don't know what to say, or whether or not you just think, well, I want this guy off my property as soon as possible, and as long as he leaves, I won't call the police. It's like, how do I know which one it is? So, at least if you give a comment, at least if you give a like, at least if you give some sort of indication that you watched what I did, then even if you are taking it for free, you're taking it and letting me know what you think when you take it, as opposed to just watching something and not caring. And that's another thing. I've made posts on Facebook where I get annoyed at people because they may watch what I do, but unless I ask them personally, they never say that they do that because their lives are too busy with other things. And that's fine. But my life is kind of involved with things, and I still make time to do the videos and make the reviews. So if I can do that, and that takes a lot longer than giving me a quick comment, then at least you can make a quick comment, you know. But that's the thing about popularity. A lot of people are doing podcasts, a lot of people are doing YouTube videos, and they want to have that kind of popularity. And a lot of people, they get popular not because of their own personal opinion per se. They get popular because they may be doing a food review of an item that you're interested in, or a record album that you like. They don't necessarily want to hear your views on happiness, or your views on what's better, walking in the country or walking in the city. Some people like that, but for the most part, if you're going to do philosophical videos or podcasts, you're going to have a limited audience because people want information so that they can determine how they feel about what you're talking about and related to them. And food is one thing that they can relate to, and music is another thing that they can relate to. So if you have videos where you talk about what you think people want to hear, I mean, what you want them to hear in music, they might not listen to that episode, but they will listen to an episode if you talk about a specific album that they like. So if I'm putting up my own personal music, I want people to listen to that, and some do, but people generally prefer to listen to my reviews on albums that they requested. And I find that the people who watch those videos are usually the people who make the requests, and that there's not like a lot of fans who have given a lot of likes or comments. Only the particular person who is interested in that video, because that person requested that video. So the person may request another video and may comment and like that one or not, but it's a very limited audience. And so the people who become popular are the people who maybe do reviews on fast food restaurants, because a lot of people eat fast food. Or if there's a meet and greet of a very famous celebrity who may not have been out and about for years, and all of a sudden comes to the surface and does a meet and greet, and someone goes to that and talks about their experience meeting that celebrity, that's going to get a lot of people watching. Not because of you, but because of the subject matter. And I'll do a few videos like those too because I want listeners. But I mostly just do stuff that I want to do. And this is going to be more of a philosophical thing. I may have a few listeners, but I don't think that it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to watch. Because who really thinks about the competition level on Facebook and YouTube and whatnot? And that's another thing. I'm involved with various groups in Facebook where there are people who talk about which album is better, this album or that album. And a lot of people just post a one word response. Let's say, what's better, Juice Priest, Unleashed in the East, or Scorpions' Love Drive? Just, as a random example of two heavy metal albums. And some people just put one word, they'll put Priest, or they might put Scorpions. And no matter what you put, like if you say what album is better, the Beatles, Abbey Road, or the Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers, they might put Beatles, or they might put Stones. But they never give a full sentence. They give as very little bit of any kind of response as they can. And so those people, even though they might be nice people, it makes me think they're not really doing much of anything. They're partaking in a voting thing, which is cool, but why aren't they promoting stuff of theirs? Why aren't they being a little bit more creative? And some of them, yeah, they do get creative sometimes. And I've seen some podcasts that, unfortunately, and this is just my opinion only, they may review albums that everybody else has reviewed, and I find that it's like recycling the same thing over and over again, so that a particular group like Rat or Motley Crue or any one of those groups will, like Metallica, might get a overall review of their career or whatnot, and a group like Quiet Riot might be considered the obscure group. To me, they're not obscure. I grew up listening to Mental Health and Condition Critical, but nobody will ever talk about the first couple albums with Randy Rhoads, even though they're available on YouTube. But they don't talk about that because that's not their era of Quiet Riot. And I might talk about those particular albums one day, but to me, the Mental Health and the Condition Critical albums, well, for me and everybody else, that's when Quiet Riot was considered to be the big thing. But nowadays, even though they're considered classic, they may be considered obscure to some people as opposed to Metallica. To me, it's all the same. They're both equally big, but to some people who might be younger than me, who didn't experience it back then when I did, they have more of a degree of which group is obscure. And they don't really know about the really obscure groups because they only go by what people our age tell them. So they might not listen to groups like Jody Grind, or they might not listen to a group like Puka, which is very, very obscure, or a group like Jeremiah, which I didn't love, but I mean, if you really search for them, you can find them. And even a group like Atlanta Rhythm Section, which is a little bit more well known, some people still consider them to be a very obscure group compared to the Rats and the Metallicas out there. So it's all a matter of how much are you willing to delve into and find out, and are you lazy or are you not. So these people who do the Rat overall assessments or the Metallica reviews, they don't seem to be too original. They don't really always have like a good wit to them. They just sort of, hi, I am going to review an album by Rat. The album is Invasion of Your Privacy. This album came out in, and then they talk about the year it comes out, and they go, during this time, Stephen Piercy and Warren DeMartini were da 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 da, and they read something off of some kind of article. They don't have like real memories of when that album came out. So they just will talk about it according to what it is historically. Which, for people their age, it's okay, but for someone like me, it's kind of like, I've already been there. I don't need to hear this info, you know? So that's just part of the course. So if you're going to be doing some kind of anything that's a little bit out of the realm of what people are into, like if you talk about a group like Jody Grind, or if you talk about Puka, which if you're lucky you can find 3 or 4 songs of theirs on YouTube, but you kind of need to know what to look for because they don't automatically just come up. But people aren't always going to check that out. They're only going to check out what is of interest to them. So they will check out Rat, they will check out Metallica, even if they already heard a whole bunch of other stuff about those groups, because it's the same thing. It's kind of like eating food, like eating a hamburger, and the next meal it's a hamburger and more hamburger and more hamburger, and someone wants to give them maybe a steak or maybe ham and eggs. But they don't want to try that because it's not the same thing that they've already had. They're just going to do the same thing over and over and over and over again. So for me, I have my own personal bias about things. And so when someone seems to be so into just only the same sort of stuff that I know, and they don't really get outside of that realm, I tend to not really want to hear their opinion much. You know, if you've got no knowledge of the past groups that I do, but you know about a whole bunch of groups I don't, that's okay, because at least you're into your own thing. And I'll be more willing to check out what you're talking about, because just like I might know stuff that you don't, you might know stuff that I don't. And that to me is better than if you ask me to review an album of a group that I might have already reviewed 2 weeks ago, but because I didn't tag it the right way, you didn't see it. You know, I have to tag it the way that you want me to tag it, instead of you finding out more than just what's in your own little tiny realm of knowledge. So I would say basically, and I'm going to sum this up because I could keep talking and I want to think about the right, more poignant things to say when I do the real podcast episode on it. If you want to be popular on YouTube or on Facebook, a lot of times people want to be popular because of their own personal views, but they know that that's not what people want, that people are selective and they're not necessarily looking for your views on things in general. They're looking for reviews of things that are of interest to them. And of course they want your opinion on it because they want to be able to assess how they feel compared with you. But if you were to just want to give a review on something that they know nothing about, even if they would be entertained by it, they're probably not going to watch it. And so competition is a rather interesting thing. It either works or it doesn't work. And whether this review or philosophical thing gets plays, I don't know, but this is just my take on the realm of the internet and how people get popular. If you have your own comments and opinions about what I said, feel free to let me know. Okay, take care. Bye.